recording of this. And we're inviting everybody to be on camera if you can be, if you're at a place where you could be on camera versus just listening in. We'd love to see your beautiful face. Here we got Stephanie coming in and Celeste is coming in. Thank you so much, Heidi and Anna, for being my amazing wing women. Hello, Celeste. Look at that beautiful face popping on the screen. And Stephanie, hello. Thank you so much for coming. Oh, I just want to take a deep, deep breath in while we get started and get grounded. We are so, so lucky, ladies, that we get to be a part of community at a time when we need community more now than ever before. Mm-hmm. My commitment to you today is to create a container, a space of comfort, a space of inspiration, a space for you to explore where are parts of yourself that you'd like to even show up in bigger ways, especially at this time in the world where our voices are rising and need to rise more than ever before. We've got Jen DeLory coming in. I know Heidi is all over the letting people in. So, all right. We've got a couple more people coming in. So we're just going to I'm going to just try to play a little music here. Jen, hello. So good to see you. And Lori's coming in. Thank you, thank you, thank you for making this space, for making time for yourself today, investing in yourself, which I know even an hour sometimes just feels like, how could I even commit to an hour of some indulgence to support myself, to support my becoming, to support where I am going? Please drop in the chat. I'd love to hear where are people phoning in from? Where are you calling in from? Let's get the chat going here for us and show our lovely ladies how we love to work the chat and welcome people in. So excited to have as many of you on camera as possible, because if you're anything like me, it really helps to see an actual human these days. All right, we've got, Carrie's calling in from Nova Scotia. Happy Canada Day. Yay, Canada. Yay, Canada. Let's see here. We got San Diego. And while people are dropping in the chat, I'd love to also, and we got Anna is coming from Albuquerque, Stephanie from Monument, Colorado. All right, I did not know it. And Jen is calling in from Denver. Celeste, I didn't see you on there. From Los Gatos. All right. Los Gatos is in the house. All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and get started as more people are coming in. And I just want to invite everybody, if you can, to either go ahead and stand up or just put both feet on the ground. So if it's possible for you to just, if you have shoes on and you can pop them off, that would be great, just so you can really feel the ground beneath your feet. This is not your regular masterclass where I'm just going to talk. This is experiencing, connecting, creating community is really what this masterclass is all about. We've got Nancy coming in. And thank you to my amazing wing women who are helping me make this possible today. Heidi Alexander and Anna Wilson. Really, really cannot do it alone. Raise your hand if you agree you cannot do working as a woman alone, not in 2025. Okay, it is not an option to be a lone wolf anymore. All right, so as you're feeling that ground beneath your feet, I just want you to wiggle your toes and say, hello, good morning, feet. Oh my gosh, I forgot about you. I forgot how much you do for me. My gosh, you make everything possible. My wonderful feet that are grounded and connected into the earth. And go ahead and just throw those shoulders back. We're opening up the channel for us to be able to speak our truth, to speak what we know, to speak our information, to speak all the things that we know and feel. We just want to open that front part up of our body, because we cannot speak if we're not heard. And that is part of today, is how do we get our voice actually heard? And we start with the body. So if you feel comfortable, and I'll keep an eye so my wing women can do this as well, but go ahead and close your eyes. And just taking in a couple of deep rhythmic breaths through your nose. And just for a moment, I just want you to imagine the roots beneath your feet. The beautiful roots of life are extending out from your feet all the way down to the center of the earth. And along the way, we're capturing up our roots intertwined with everyone on this call today. Just getting really grounded with who is here, feeling the vibrance and the life within our feet, within our roots, and sending out love to everyone on this call. Sending out, I got your back. And go ahead and take one more final inhale through the nose. And let's let it out through the mouth. Let's do that one more time. And this time, everybody know lion's breath. We're going to stick our tongues out and be as silly as possible. So on the inhale, we go inhale through the nose. And exhale. Let's let it all out in a really loud lion sound. Get this oxygen that's in there that's stale and old and not serving us anymore. Ladies, let's inhale. And exhale. And one more inhale, bringing in some fresh oxygen into our bodies, filling us up with air. Tiny sip, sip, more air. Inhale, 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 and exhale. And just hold up our hands to everybody on the call. I see you. I've got you. We are in this together. I know you and I don't know you. And that is okay because we are all here connected together through the roots of our feet and our sparkly fingers. This is what we call sparkly fingers. So when we're excited about something, we can always, or one of our sisters on the call says something amazing, we can sparkle fingers for them. Lori, so good to see you. Thank you for popping your video on. Nancy, so good to have you. And go ahead and sit down. If you're more comfortable standing up, you're more than welcome to do that too. I find standing up while I present and teach is a really powerful embodiment exercise that helps me get my content all the way down to my feet. So I want to start with an inspiration that I actually got from dear Celeste, who's here on the call, of our vision for a brave new normal. I believe in a world where women rise into their greatness, not because they were told to do so, but because they remembered it's their birthright. Because we remember it's who we are. And so where trusting yourself is not radical, it's routine, it's expected, and it's celebrated. So just going to say it one more time, okay, in case that didn't land. Where trusting yourself is not radical, it's routine, it's expected, it's celebrated. Drop in the chat what that feels like to know that that is where we can come from. What does it feel like to know that trusting yourself is not a radical act? We're taught something completely different. And today we are offering a different vibration to the planet. We are saying there is something else that exists out there that is healthy, that is functional, that works, that lifts hearts, that lifts minds. Yes, expansive, supportive, like a big, deep exhale, relaxing into the truth. Women, this is why I am creating so much work that is women only, because we need women at this time. Women need community more than ever before. And we need to know we have each other's back. I see a world where we don't have to compete and where resources are restricted, where it's expansive, where when women lead, everything goes up. All right, so I would love to welcome everybody here by just dropping in the chat. What is one thing that you would really like to take away from today? What had you sign up? I know most of you, I think I said you have to be here. Um, but I would love to hear what is speaking for impact for you? Is it just when we present on Masterclass or on Zoom or to our clients, to our customers? Is that when we're speaking for impact? Or are we speaking for impact all the time? Speaking with a calm confidence, speaking with authenticity. Yes, and when we do those things, what's possible for us? What's possible for us when we can speak with authenticity? Speaking to motivate. Yes. Yes, speaking to motivate. And that is what we are here to do. We are going to talk about how to inform and inspire. Because let's face it, with AI and everything else and Netflix calling us every day, like, woohoo, you could be doing that. How many of us agree that we're not really competing with a lot of things as much as we are just with people's time to themselves, to relax, to watch a Netflix, to play in the pool, to be with their kids, to just do life? And so with AI, it's so important to really put more emphasis onto that speaking with ease to any size group. And that's what my commitment has been. So let me just share a little bit here about where we're going today. Okay, so can everybody see that? Raise your hand if you can see that. Okay, excellent. So we got what we're going to do today is my goal is to help you show up. And when I say show up, I say to be seen, to be heard, to be out front, and to be wanted. So what do these 4 steps mean? It means that we have to be seen if we want our work to matter in the world. In our longer programs, we go into a lot more about what are those visibility hacks, what are those mindset hacks, about how to let go of those limiting beliefs that we have that are always just like in the background going, oh, remember you were told not to outshine the others. Well, you're being a little bit too much out there with your, sharing your work with others. Does anybody have that one? Like, I mean, I grew up with all brothers and I was told that, you're outshining the boys. And I was like, oh, geez, I thought I just had a good idea. So those things that we were taught when we were young about speaking and about being seen really can still affect us later in life. Raise your hand if you agree that some of those limiting beliefs were like, you know what, you're not helping me anymore. I get it that you kept me safe at a time I needed that, but that's not helping me now. Speaking is the #1 way to grow your business, your reputation, and your credibility. So being seen is part of what we're going to be talking about today, right? We can't be thought leaders if we're not sharing our thoughts. We're not really going to be talking about social media at all today because that's not really my expertise. What my expertise is to show you how being seen in person or on virtual meetings like this is the way to grow those areas that are most of interest. How to be heard more, how to be out front. And what I mean by out front is you each on this call, I know, have something, a body of work, an idea, a way of doing business, a way of whether you're doing audits, for banks, whether you're a psychologist, whether you're working with corporate women, whether you're a doctor, whether you're an amazing hypnotherapist, changing lives. Speaking is the way to drive your business and your visibility forward. So that's what I mean by out front. Are you willing to share your goodies? Are you willing to share the work that you've done in the world and that could help and benefit others? And then wanted, right? How many of us are like, and I've coached thousands of people over my 25-year career. And Jen, you've been in our programs. Sometimes it's the applause at the end that people have the hardest time receiving. And part of our program is we actually have people stand up in the front after they're done presenting and receive their applause, because, you know, most of us are like, okay, I'm out of here. That applause feels scary. That applause, that's too much. If you want to see an amazing receiving of an applause, watch Adele receive her Grammy. She stood on stage for 10 minutes receiving an incredible applause for her amazing work. And so that's what I'm not saying that for you guys, but being able to receive it. She just stood there and received it. So powerful. So powerful. All right. So most of you know who we are and what we do in terms of being a leadership and speaking coach, and also a team coach for many of these well-known brands in the US, mostly in Colorado, because our work has really been focused in Colorado, because long ago when I fell in love with Colorado, I made a decision that I was going to really help companies in Colorado who love and work in Colorado. And so that's who you'll see. But why did I do this work? Why did I even start? Well, imagine being 24 years old and getting promoted basically because you were good with people. And the CEO said, Kendall, you're so good. You need to be in charge of business development. We're giving you, probably many of you won't know this, but we're giving you a Motorola phone. It was the first cell phone, and it came in a suitcase. Okay, anybody remember that, or is it totally just me? But oh my God, you guys, I took that job because I thought I would be so cool if I had that suitcase and I could travel around Colorado delivering it was a mental health administration company. Anyway, and so I said, absolutely, I'll take that job. It was an $8,000 salary bump. And the CEO came to me and said, Kendall, I don't like public speaking at all. We're on deck to be at this huge conference with medical directors and healthcare executives, and we want you to speak because, again, you're good with people. And immediately I thought, wait a minute, I did not see that on the dotted line when I took this job. But of course, I remember my earliest mentor when I was 15 said, Kendall, there are 2 times to speak and be of service to others. And that's when you want to and when you don't. And I definitely thought, I do not want to do this. But I got up there after many sleepless nights, after memorizing my slides, after going through each detail, agonizing, exhausted. And I saw all those people in the audience. And to be honest, it was mostly men. And I just froze. I was just terrified beyond belief. No one had prepared me for this. Even though I had done speaking before, it was all to my peer group. These were all people that were definitely above me, above my pay grade, above my age. And I basically looked at my slides and got through it as quickly as possible, only to go to my car and just lose it. I was so devastated. I couldn't stop crying. I felt like I had let myself down. I felt like I had left my team down. I felt like a complete failure. I thought, I can't even show my face again. And you know what I decided after the tears dried that day was, you know what? I'm going to get somebody to help me with this. And I'm going to help myself with this, because there's got to be a woman's way to speak. And that's through connection, not content. And so I dedicated myself then and there to create a process, a 3-step process, and many, many other tools along the way, so that no one in my circle would ever have to experience that feeling of letting others down, of letting yourself down, and basically deciding, I don't think I ever want to do this again. And so I created a program, I created many tools, and that's what we teach today, and that's what I'm passionate about. You know, Jen's a great example. Jen, I'm going to keep pointing to you, but Jen's been to our program in person and knows the transformative power of an experiential woman-based program that helps people connect to content and their subject matter expertise in a whole new way that is heart-centered, not mind-centered. Because guess what? What I learned that day is that this is totally unsustainable. It is unsustainable to learn every single word of a presentation. It is unsustainable to exhaust ourselves before a presentation. It is unsustainable to have 16 monitors telling us where to go and what to say, versus a whole new heart-based way to remember your content, connect with the audience, and watch your anxieties fall away. So does that sound good if we keep going for everybody? All right, okay. Give some sparkle fingers if you never want to feel anxious in front of an audience. Sparkle fingers if you want a compelling, quick way to easily get into your content that prioritizes the connection to your audience. Because what I found that day, part of the betrayal I felt to myself was I thought, I don't really say ums and ah and in my daily one-to-one conversations. I don't have those ums and ahs. But when I was in front of those 200 people, I think every other word was because I was so startled and I had so much stage fright hit me all at once, that then I learned, wow, if I can kind of emulate that one-to-one conversation that I have with Celeste or with Nancy or with Jen or Stephanie, I can have one-to-many without any of those ums and ahs and those nervous, you know what I'm talking about, the nervous twitches that come in when we see all those eyeballs facing us. And it doesn't have to be a big presentation to many people. It could even just be a stressful conversation. It could be I have to give feedback to somebody. It could be I have to give feedback to somebody that's above me. That's a high stress situation. And so my hope is that what we're going to talk more here today is going to help you with any high stakes conversation, whether it be one-to-one or one-to-many. Okay, so what I did when I created my program to help teach myself a new way, I didn't find this anywhere. I could not find, remember Dale Carnegie was kind of like the only person talking about how to do public speaking. And I thought, well, it didn't really resonate with me. And so as we go here, I want to just ask you to think about for a second, if I said to you right now, in 10 minutes, I'm going to call somebody up and have you share your story with us. How many of you would just love to do that? Spur of the moment, I'm going to do that. Anybody? Okay. All right. Well, for me, that was a terrifying proposition, right? If somebody said, hey, I'm going to call on somebody here in front of this large audience, and I would be terrified, right? That it was going to be me and I wouldn't know what to say. So what I did was I realized that I was only accessing public speaking through the mind. And I was developing all my presentations to be very cerebral. And what I completely forgot was that my body is so much part of the equation for speaking, that I needed to make sure to listen to my body, to pay attention, to keep some of the energy. And I like to keep about 20% of my energy in my body while I'm speaking, so that I know I need a sip of water. I've been talking too much. I need to take a breath. I'm getting, maybe I need to stand up. Maybe I need to sit down. So listening to your body and keeping some of that energy back into your body has been one of the most helpful things for me to not be completely depleted after an important presentation. So having that relationship with the body, because public speaking is largely a what? It's a physical body experience. Our body is letting us know all the time, I'm either with you or I'm against you. So we want to really be in concert with our body and making sure that we have some practices like yoga, breathing, opening our hearts before we speak. I like to do something physical before I do any presentation, just to release kind of that stale energy that's in there. And so the three intersecting circles of the body and the mind and the heart is that sweet spot that we're really looking for. And that's what I created my logo on, is that speaking and leadership is really these three intersecting parts all the time, whether that be through the mind, the body, or the heart. Okay, so the first step, let's just say, does everybody have a presentation or a conversation that they want to have with somebody, and it might be a little bit high risk, or it might be it's high risk, high reward, but it's like important, whether it be you're doing a master class. I know many of you are educators here, and you're going to be doing master classes. Jen, I know you're presenting all the time to clients. So does everybody have just something that they could do this exercise with? Maybe it's a parent, maybe it's somebody who's off track in their life, and you want to give them feedback. So let's start with going through the mind, body, heart connection. And that is, first, let's start with, well, what do I want my audience to know? This is going to activate the mind, right? This is where your information comes through. This is where you have your data, your graphs, what you want to present, right? You have the meat of your presentation. And that is going to activate people's mind, right? And that's important. And there are words that we can use, which we go into in our longer program, which I'm going to talk to you about at the end, our longer program. But what do I want them to know? And so this is a really important piece of it. We also have words that you can use to start your presentation so that it activates the audience in a more interesting way. I grew up all my life with people who wanted to be interesting. This is where my first disconnection came early in my life. I kept thinking, everybody in this room and my family and others, they all want to be interesting. And I say, I just want to be interested in others. And that was so important of a shift for me, is that public speaking is not about being interesting. It's about being interested in knowing what your audience needs to know, what they need to feel, and what they need to do. And so that's the 3-step process that activates the mind, the body, and the heart. And this is where I always start. So I actually did this for us today in terms of, what do I want you to know? I want you to know that public speaking is within reach. I want you to know that public speaking can be completely transformed to be a natural part of your business development, your growing your reputation, your credibility. I want you to know those things. I want you to know that you can double and triple and quadruple your income by speaking. So those are things that I want you to know. I want you to know that it doesn't need to be hard, that public speaking can be a muscle. And the more that we practice, like we play, like I'm doing now. Today, I'm going to demonstrate how to be perfectly imperfect, because I'm trying some new technology. I've never used Canva before. I'm using Canva for my slides because I don't like PowerPoint anymore. So I'm trying something new. But the act of me practicing like I'm playing, right? So one of the powerful tips that we've all heard before is to be ready 24 hours in advance of your presentation. That has been a game changer as well, to be ready the day before, so that then the next, that full day before, you can kind of make your tweaks and get feedback. All right, so I'm going to stop just for a second here, and I would love to hear from you. What does anybody, could I take a share here from somebody who would be willing to walk through the no, feel, do with me? I could just ask you a couple of questions. Stephanie? Great. Yeah, go ahead and unmute yourself and come on up. Let's get you up here.
Gotcha.
Great.
You ready?
Okay. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Yeah. So Stephanie, what is your talk, or what is your conversation?
I don't have the title for it yet, but essentially,
okay.
right. It's about, helping business, entrepreneurs and business leaders release their emotional baggage so they can step into, their authentic selves and embody all of the freedom that we all want.
Nice. Okay, love it, love it. Now automatically I want to hear more and hearing. So what do you want people to know about that?
I want them to know that everything we have is inside us. And once we release all of, the baggage and the stories and the beliefs, your true self emerges. And it's really easy to speak your authentic, truth and be heart-centered and just give and receive so much easier once you do that.
Great. Okay. And so will you offer any practices for them to practice in your masterclass?
Yes. So I do a couple of different exercises. I haven't narrowed that down yet, but one of them would be I do like a rapid fire kind of I would do something similar to this where it's like getting out of your conscious mind and getting into your subconscious mind. So like asking them, what do you think is, what's holding you back now? What are those beliefs? What is something that you want to improve? Because a lot of times when we do it in that rapid fire way, the truth pops up quite quickly and then we don't have the chance to filter it, right? Or rationalize it. So I do
Yes.
an exercise similar to this.
Okay, excellent. All right. And then how do you want people to feel as they're taking your coursework from you?
I I want them to feel in touch with themselves, like that self-discovery, because that's exactly what I went through. It was like I honestly, truthfully I had to be broken down to like the ashes in order to rise up again. It was a crazy experience, but I understand why I had to go through that because I was like super successful and then by choice I wasn't. But it was so humbling and I want people to feel what it feels like to be connected to your authenticity again because I felt like I was
Mhm.
like probably what a lot of people that you speak with feel. It's like I was so connected to outcomes and validation in what people thought I should be and getting that approval from, all of the people I worked with and the businesses I worked with, and also the patients I worked with, right? And I was like losing myself steadily. And, one day the resistance inside me, I couldn't take it anymore. So I was like, I've got to do something about this.
Mm. So it really came down to a choice between
Yeah.
yourself and making yourself happy or giving up everything for
Yeah.
everybody else,
Yes.
which gets you nothing, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. All right. And then what would you like people to do? When they've heard your coursework, what would you like them to do then?
I would love for them to work with me. Right.
Yes. Okay.
Right. Right.
Wonderful. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So let's give some love in the chat for Stephanie because
Thank you.
what an incredibly important service that you're offering. We all on this call know the expensive problem that happens when we don't align with our true self and our what that inner wisdom is. We
Mhm.
know the high cost of what that is, and it's basically way too expensive to choose
Mhm.
anything but yourself
Yeah.
because everything else is just unaffordable,
Hmm.
in so many ways, whether that be career, money, health, fitness, relationships, sleep, all goes down the drain when we really do not take care of number one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you're getting some really, really good love in
Oh,
the chat.
thank you,
So
ladies.
yeah. And everybody can relate, right? Because what Stephanie just showed us, whether we're in the business of coaching, whether we're in the business of taking care of clients in another way, we all have kind of that three steps of, okay, as I'm preparing for this presentation or this meeting, what do I want them to know, right? And immediately that focuses our attention in that direction. So think of the no feel do equation as a way to set an intention for your talk, an intention for the meeting. And it's high level enough that that it will immediately start sending our brain in that direction, right? To fill in, okay, what do I want people to know? What's most important? And again, we're not dropping in all the statistics and the data and all of that. That's where this goes. But we want to be able to share something from our heart, something that I shared my story as a way for people to connect to the cost of basically running this idea of public speaking is this really, unsustainable way that we're training people to speak is extremely expensive. And the problem with it really is that it's causing too many people to not speak up. And that is actually a big problem. That is a very expensive problem. So we want to have ease and comfort in our no feel do. And I mean, one of my clients, gang, is the National Renewable Energy Lab. Okay, these guys and gals are the brightest scientists for climate on the planet. And guess what they don't do at the end of any of their talks? We're getting them ready for renewable energy presentations around the world to help countries go to renewable energy. And none of them at the end were asking for the work. They were just saying, here's our great research, and here's what you can do to come off of fossil fuels, stay in touch. And we're going, oh my gosh, no, we've got to ask for the partnership. We've got to ask something. We got to be really specific, because you've now got millions of dollars in this research. And these people are literally saying, help me, help me, help me. And they were saying, well, we're scientists, we don't sell. And I'm like, well, that's the old paradigm. The new paradigm is that you do, and that your ideas, we want to be infectious. We want them to spread. We want countries to move to renewable energy. That's just one example, but all of us have that in our back of it. Well, I don't want to be salesy. Oh, I don't want to be pushy if I ask them to do something. Even just saying, connect with me on LinkedIn or come to my next class, have some way for people to continue forward with you. Does that make sense? Okay, excellent. All right, so thank you. Thanks, Stephanie, for that. I'm going to come back to our no feel do. So try that out in your next presentations, and please, let me know how you like that. Do you, sparkle fingers if you think that this is a quick and easy way to get you at least to a quick outline, right? And so the other way to get into it quickly is through neurolinguistics and through words that you use to activate your audience. So when I told my story, I said, I started with the word imagine. Imagine is a neurolinguistics word that is so powerful to start, because you literally paint a picture for your audience of where we're going next. And the nice thing about neurolinguistics is that they are what called embedded commands. And Anna is really probably a more expert on this, but they're embedded commands. And so basically you're telling somebody, this is what I want you to do. So when we say imagine, or think about a time, or reflect upon a time, and if you want more of these words in the bonus email that's going to come at the end of this, there's my flip book, which if you come to our class in person, you get the actual copy. If you take this right here today, you'll have the PDF. But in that, I think it's page 14 in there, is a list of neurolinguistics words that I really encourage you to practice and play, and try them in your talks to see if they kind of invoke a better feeling state for yourself. What I like about neurolinguistics, they really are great for the audience to get on board, but quite honestly, I use them more for myself to calm me down, because they help me stay in the purpose of my client. They help me stay in the flow of higher vibration words that are in the third person versus in the I, which is all about me. So in our longer program, we talk about the different levels of listening and speaking. The first level is the I, which is, here's what I want to tell you today, versus here's what you're going to learn. So in neurolinguistics, we changed kind of that I to the you. And it's a higher level functioning on your part as a speaker to put it into the audience's words and into their world, right? Versus what I want to say versus what you're going to learn. Simple distinction, but huge impact. So let me tell you a little bit about one of my clients, Carla. Carla she is now an EVP with one of Colorado's largest financial institutions, Canvas Credit Union, for those of you in Colorado. And Canvas is one of our clients, and they bring us in quarterly to work with their high performers and their emerging leaders. Carla got our email about our public speaking training and talks about how she agonized over signing up. Jen, you might have had this similar experience. Carla decided before she could second guess herself, she signed up really quickly. She had an incredible, crippling fear of public speaking. Carla came to our course. For the first hour, we were doing exercises, icebreakers, just getting people talking to each other. Carla was crying. I said, are you good if we continue? I'm okay with where you are. Are you okay? And she's like, yes, I'm fine. She goes, this is part of what I'm overcoming. And so at the break, my other co-facilitator was like, should we let her go and have her come back another day? And I said, nope, I got this. So I took Carla aside, and she was drying her tears. And I said, Carla, do you trust me? And she said, yes. And I said, are you ready to put this public speaking fear in their rear view mirror for good? She goes, yep, I am. I go, okay, well, come on with me. And we got her up in the front of the room, and everybody's in a semicircle. And we just had her slow it down. And I had her do an exercise that we call relational presence, where she connected with each person in the room in silence. Just connecting each person, taking a couple of seconds, 5 seconds with each person, connecting through the eyes with no words. She made it about 3/4 away around the circle. The tears are clearing up. She goes, yeah, this isn't that bad. And I kid you not, she broke into a full comedic routine. And she's like, and then, we let her go for 3 minutes, which is the time that we have for people to do this. And then she goes, no, I don't want to stop. I don't want to stop. I'm having way too much fun. So we talked to Carla and we said, talk to us about what's happening here. And she said, I ran for student council in 3rd grade or 4th grade, whatever it was, and got absolutely laughed at. She said, I've never been able to be in front of the room again. And she said, I've been avoiding meetings. I mean, at this point, she was a director at the bank or at the credit union. So she was a director, but she said, I knew I needed to face my fear. I knew I needed to deal with this because people are asking more of me, and I know I have more to give. She said, to be honest, I've always loved comedy, and I've always wanted to be a stand-up comic. But this crippling fear has gotten in my way. So fast forward now, this is 5 years ago or so. And now she's an EVP. She's one of the top leaders at the bank. And she is crushing it. She doesn't have public speaking fear anymore. If she gets anxious, I just taught her how to treat it like Christmas morning. It's the same exact energy. Would you all agree that being nervous about public speaking is very similar to the excitement we feel on Christmas morning or our birthday? And if we can just kind of rewire that brain of ours to say, oh, this is just excitement. I'm actually okay. And giving somebody the space and time to heal and create connection with people first, which is why people have the public speaking fears, because we're not connecting to one person at a time, one thought at a time, delivering it in one direction. And I believe that that removes stage fright forever. If we can prioritize connection over content. So I would love to make an offer to each and every one of you here today. And that is to sign up with me for a Kickstart in Chemistry call. This is no pressure at all, but I'm in the business of accelerating and helping leaders and speakers all over the world be their best self and live their best life. I have 2 spots right now to work with somebody one-to-one. And I would love it if and we have a special, okay? So normally this 3-pack session is valued at $7,500. That's what clients pay me currently for that. But if we sign up by July 7th, if you sign up by July 7th, we can do that for $19.97. And that will include a full day training in Denver. That is a game changer. Jen's been to our half day. The full day is twice as good. So I would love for anybody to consider that. I'm going to drop in the chat or have Heidi drop in the chat. It might be up in the very front, the link for the chemistry call. And if you don't have that, oh, there we go. Thank you. And I just want to shout out, I'm so sorry I didn't do this sooner, but I don't know if everybody heard, but I have 2 amazing, 3 with Dr. Carey as well, supporting me here today. Heidi, Anna, and Dr. Carey, thank you so much for being my wing women, for letting people in, for dropping things in the chat. Raise your hand if you absolutely agree. You cannot do it alone. You have to have your meetings. You have to have a wing woman or somebody who's kind of doing all the stuff behind the scenes. That has been something that's been a huge shift for me, is really opening my heart and relying on other people.
Kendall, could you
please
explain what is a 3-pack? Like, what's involved in a 3-pack?
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so basically in a 3-pack, let's say you have a presentation coming up, something that's really important. It could be a masterclass, it could be a keynote, it could be a high stakes presentation. So a high stakes presentation is really anything that you have to put thought into. So that the 3-pack is where we meet 3 times over the course of whatever that time period is. We have to get you ready. So if your keynote, let's say, is a month from now, we would fast track that process. If your keynote is a couple of months from now, then I know we have time to meet, and then we create your content, and then we have you deliver it and practice it. We give feedback, we do the edits. I mean, we do that together. And then we meet again so that you're completely ready to crush it on stage, basically. So I just, in between my coaching this morning and this meeting, I had, for example, a COO of a $4 billion real estate company that I coach to get him ready for investor for what's called earnings calls. That's just, so I get him ready on a quarterly basis. That's just one client I have. That's a very high stakes conversation, is an earnings call with Wall Street. And so we get him ready for that. We also have a woman who's one of the only women in construction. A construction company is doing a women in construction keynote. So I'm getting her ready for that. Absolutely. Oh, go ahead, Stephanie. Oh,
I think I know who you're talking about. I think, is her name Chelsea?
No, you mean the woman in construction?
Yeah.
No, Kathy Archiola. She is COO of a company in Denver called PCL Construction.
Oh, that's fascinating, because I know a woman in Denver who's a construction, like I thought was probably the only one. So that's really, really interesting, because they are few and far between, right?
They are.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and as you can hear, I really do love supporting women in particular who are in male-dominated industries, because I know the challenges of feeling supported and getting your words even out into the space when you have people lurking and like come on, can you say it faster? And, oh, I'm going to take that idea for myself. I mean, you're dealing with a lot. I mean, really, let's be honest. I mean, we're dealing with a lot of different stuff that we just don't deal with when we're women only, which is kind of why I like to have a woman-based community, because we're not competing, we're supporting. And that's the difference. And so but I do like really supporting and helping women who are in the space of male dominated industries to really support and get their great work out there. Thanks for the question, Carrie. Thank you for that. I do want to just mention that we do have 2 other programs coming up in October. As I mentioned, we have a full day program, and then we also have a leadership emotional release masterclass coming up that I'll be sending that information out to you in follow-up emails. So what I'd love to do is just open it up to questions. I have, of course, 16 hours more of content, but I've been talking a lot. And so I would love to hear from you in terms of what gets in the way of you speaking more of the time. And I'd love to take a few shares. How about you, Heidi? Love to get your voice out there.
What gets in my way of speaking more? Often the thought of like, what are people thinking? Which goes back to don't outshine, what you shared in the beginning, all the stories that we've been told early on, all of that. Be quiet. I've been raised as a quiet girl, like we're not allowed to speak up. So that's something I'm consistently we're still working on. Yeah. And I know that people in the vicinity of like where I grew up are actually watching me, what I do. So I kick them out of Instagram and like my accounts, and they consistently come back and like, okay, it is what it is. And I just do what I want.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, excellent. I love that. Thank you. Yeah, being committed to your work, regardless of the chatter, is so much part of sort of the women paradigm for going forward. Is we're just committed to our work. If it doesn't resonate for you, we'll talk to you later. But I'm committed over here. Yeah, Celeste.
Such a great question.
No.
Hi. I also just want to presence like so many gold nuggets. I've been sharing them in the chat as well. I'm excited for you to reread, just receiving so much value from this presentation and so much love from you in the way that you're sharing. So thank you. And what gets in the way when I feel into speaking more, I find is this, where do I start? I feel like I have so much to share, so much experience, perspective, stories, and then to look at this platform like social media and go like, where do I invite you? Like, where do I start to invite you into what there is to know, what there is to experience, and feeling the mind get in the way of like, well, I want to kind of feel like I can organize it all in my head first before I open my heart to start sharing. And so I feel that, I just noticed the where do I start and organize, feel like I want to organize all the information before I share it with you. And I believe that there's a balance to that both the trust what can come through, but also that sense of how do I organize all that I want to share in a way that makes me feel confident that I'm starting in the right place and I'm leading my audience in the right place as well with what's going to come next.
I love that. And yes. Underline that getting started is the hardest part. And that's where the real power, and you just did it beautifully last week because I attended your masterclass and it was absolutely phenomenal. And starting out, that's what we cover in the longer program, is the different ways that you can either start with a word like imagine, or my goal today is, my role, or there's so many, right? Research shows, experience shows, and these are all goodies you're going to get in the follow-up. Or asking a question, which I know you did at the beginning of your class, and so totally love the uphill, and I hope today by giving the no feel do that'll give you some place to organize. Because then you get to organize, and then you just put the fluff on top with, okay, what's that story that I really want to open with? Or what's that, that I really want to open with? Does that make sense?
Totally. Thank you.
Okay.
Super
Thank
helpful
you.
frameworks.
Great. Yeah, Carrie.
I think my challenge is I used to work in television, but I am so lousy with a teleprompter. And because when you're teaching a course, you obviously do need a teleprompter or some way to make sure that you convey the information the way you want to. And so when I'm just speaking like this, I'm absolutely fine. But boy, as soon as I get on that teleprompter, it feels like I'm reading. Is that something you're able to help us with in the
Oh
one-on-one
my gosh.
coaching?
Yes, thank you, Carrie. That's a great question. I have worked with a lot of broadcasters and folks who have used the teleprompter. I highly recommend a teleprompter for a longer talk that you really want to, the things have to go in a pretty much a certain order, although I have, flexibility around that, in terms of, your audience doesn't know where something was supposed to be. But the teleprompter, I really train my clients to get off the teleprompter about a week before. Because what happens, the teleprompter is an excellent way for you to get it into your bones, right? You just keep going over it and over it. And I have it up on a screen here, where there's my screen. And then I'll just walk the kitchen, right? And I'll grab it, and then I'll present it. And then that's the best way to get it into memory. But the problem with the teleprompter, exactly, we really lose our muscle with it, and it becomes then a crutch. And so we definitely want to cut ourselves off about a week before. I recommend the Parrot teleprompter software. It's an easy app. It goes right on your phone or your iPad. I love Parrot, Parrot. And it is so fabulous for so many reasons. I mean, being in television, but yeah, communicating one to many, the teleprompter just doesn't land with that connection part, which is what we want.
After we memorize it, do you recommend then possibly just putting the bullet points on the teleprompter so that if you get stage fright or something that you're like, okay, oh yeah, I've covered 1, 2, and 3. Okay, number 4.
100%. Yes, thank you. Yeah, definitely get then your presentation to bullets. And the thing is, we'll never memorize anything perfectly. So we can just put that on a cloud and watch it float away, because I've never been good at memorizing. I'm more like, this is a concept that I want to teach. Here's a story that goes with that. And so absolutely, that's where we can get you to, is to bullets and to be just basically conversation, right? Because again, we would never have you experience anything if we're just in a one-to-one conversation, and that's what we're trying to emulate on the screen.
And when you said sorry, can I ask another question?
Sure.
When you say that, you can get the 3-pack and it's for 3 different events, how much time do you allocate for preparation? How much time is available for your client for preparation for that event?
I mean, it's basically as much as is needed. I really like to deliver a result. And that result is you're going to crush it on stage.
Okay, thank you.
And so sometimes it's, I meet with other people to get their feedback, to get their inputs. Like I said, the earnings guy, I'm in touch with investor relations, so he's giving me stuff that I need to prep him. If he doesn't do well, then we'll meet again and again. So as much as is needed.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for the question. All right. Well, everybody, I just want to acknowledge and thank you. Thanks for investing in yourself. Thank you for coming and supporting me. And I would love to continue, obviously, in any fashion with every single one of you. But for today, I'd love for you to go ahead and reach your left hand out in front of you. And go ahead and reach your right hand out. And your left hand is where we've been. It's a paradigm from the past that does not work. It's a paradigm that says we need to be perfect. It says we need to have it all figured out. And over here on the right is a very fluid, conversational, it's more real and relatable, not planned and canned. Real and relatable is what's in. And that's what I see in each and every one of you. And I want to have us bring those two together. And let's create some heat for ourselves. And with that, I want to say thank you again. Thanks so much for coming. You'll get an email after this with an evaluation. I would love your feedback. There's some goodies in there too if you want the flip book that I mentioned. Jen has that. Jen, do you still have the flip book?
I do, yes.
All right. And that was 2020. So I mean, if it hasn't hit the library, I'm really thankful. So you've still got it. It's still working. And I'm going to send you off on your way, and we'll finish on time here.
And Kendall, 10 out of 10 recommend the class, FYI.
Oh,
It's
thank
fantastic.
you.
Sign up.
Thank you. Thank you all. Much love. Much love. Thank you for coming. Bye-bye.